Welcome to Hobby Halloween. The next video will begin making the scary pirate prop, starting with the pneumatic drop panel. However, in this video it is an introduction for viewers new to pneumatics, or those interested in alternative pneumatic props. Today we will look at 3 pneumatic props that were previously used in my haunts. I will reconstruct them, explain and demonstrate their operation, as well as give ideas and tips for those who may wish to build these props. The 3 props we will look at today are the fence popper, also could be a grave popper, the 2-bar lifter mechanism, and the lifter and lunge combo mechanism. These props are presented in increasing levels of difficulty, starting with the simplest and finishing with this one that is more advanced. So we're going to build a graveyard popper, and I'm going to use this prop. You can see it's been torn apart. It used to be another prop for the day. It's got arms on it, hands on it, and a head. It's got some red LED eyes on it, and we'll see if we can get them to work with some batteries. And what we're going to do is we're going to attach this head to this cylinder. It's an 8-inch cylinder, and we're going to attach it to the neck of this prop. And the idea is that when the cylinder extends up, the head will come up. So we're faced with a few challenges of how to connect the neck to this part, and what do you secure the cylinder to? For that, I have a base over here. Let me move the camera around. So I have the base here, and it's a piece of wood about 1 by 12. And if you don't have that, you can use something with concrete, but you want it to be heavy. And I have a 2 by 4 attached to this, painted it black. And you want the height of it to be about the height of your fence, which is sitting over there. A little bit lower than that, so that the head, when it's sitting on top of this, barely is noticeable from behind the fence. And since I use an 8-inch cylinder, it means it's going to go up 8 inches. It's going to extend 8 inches above wherever it is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this plate and I'm going to put it on the cylinder, and I'm going to use this nut and put it on the end of the cylinder. This is the part where the rod is on. I have the hole drilled in this vertical 2 by 4. I'm going to now take a 1/4-20, this is about a 3-inch, and I'm going to put 2 nuts together to act as a spacer. So I have 2 nuts there, and it'll act as a spacer when I put this back in. Put the plate back on, and then put the top nut on. Now the cylinder is reattached to the 2 by 4. I'm going to secure this bolt with a washer, and then I like using these nylon locking nuts. They have a little called nylocks. And basically these are a tightening, and they don't come off very easily kind of nut. And that's very important, because when you're dealing with actions that have mechanical vibrations and this thing moves around on you, things can loosen up on you, and you do not want that to happen. So I'll put one of these nylocks on there. You will need a wrench or something to tighten that down. I'm going to attach these 1/4-inch air hoses. I happen to have just a bunch of clear and black tubing laying around, and this is what I'll use. Since the solenoid mechanism will be below the cylinder, I'll put the longest one on the top. The solenoid I'm using is one of these. Now I've had this around for a while, so I don't even remember when I got it, who I got it from. I'm going to use one that runs on 12 volts. I like using low voltage. It's just safer that way. The other thing that we have the air relief valves, we have the input valve here, and then we have the double acting pipes that go in here. I don't know which is which. If you plug it in the backwards way, then when it's not energized, it will extend. So if that's the case, then you want to reverse it. Pull that out and put that in the other one. Reverse them. So that's what we'll just start with that and see where it is. Okay. So I'm going to mount that right down here like that. Next, I'd like to talk about options for putting air into the cylinder, into the solenoid. I have here, I like this one because it's got an on-off valve. If you put it like this, then it means the airway is open, and you can turn it to either left or to the right, and that means that it's blocked. The other option, of course, is just to go ahead and just install one of these. It just takes a standard fitting, and this is the quick connect for your air. So I'm going to use this one. So what I've figured out, I'm going to use this 90-degree bracket with a hole drilled out for the cylinder, and I'm going to attach it to the head. And I've drilled some holes in the back of the neck, and I'm going to mount it like this so that the bracket goes to the back. This is the front, and the bracket, the L bracket, is pointing away. So I'm going to attach them with these bolts. Okay, so what I've done is I've double nutted the end there, and what I'm going to do is when you tighten them against each other, when you have one wrench this way and that way, and you tighten them together like that, it creates what they call a jam nut. And what that'll do is that'll prevent these nuts from walking off of there. So now we have the bracket attached. We can now attach the head of this to the cylinder. So I will attach the head this way, and I have, these are metric, so these require M8s. And again, I'm going to use the same technique of being a jam nut. Now, if you have nylock nuts for these, that would even be better. But I don't have anything like that in metric. So that one, you just hold that one while you just tighten the other one to it. And that will prevent this from coming off of there, no matter how much it does. But it will not prevent this whole thing from spinning around. And for that, we're going to use a wire. The old coat hangers, that'll work, or a piece of stiff wire. I'm going to get out my heavy-duty pliers, and we'll take this thing apart, and we'll make a guide wire for this prop. So what I've done is I've taken a length of coat hanger wire, and I have a loop on one end, and I plan to take a screw, and that'll screw into the back of the skull. This loop of wire here, I'll bolt to the bracket that's attached to the cylinder, and then the length of this wire will be the length of the cylinder plus a little extra so it doesn't come out of that. I also plan to thread that wire through this tube to prevent it from getting hung up on the material of the prop. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach the loop of this to the back of the skull, and I'm going to pass the end of this wire through the plate. This is where I'll bolt this to this L bracket. And you want to go in there just tight enough. You don't want to over tighten it or you'll strip it out of the plastic. Now I'll take a a small screw and a nut, and I'm going to put that in here. Put some kind of thread lock on that, or use a nylock. Just tightening it down may not be enough. That this is going to keep the head facing in one direction. The length of the wire is long enough so it doesn't come out of this hole here. Let's try putting this little piece of pipe in there. I'm just going to use some wire ties and just put it around there. Use whatever you have, but this should be good enough. I'll use two of them, one at the top and one at the bottom. When you cut these wire ties, make sure that you cut them flush. If you cut them like that, then you leave a sharp edge to them, that could cut your fingers. So just do this. Go as tight as you can or flat against the body of the zip tie and snip it off like that so it's nice and flush with the zip tie. Alright, well, it's starting to look like a prop. Let's get the eyes to light up next. So I put some double stick tape on the back of the battery holder, and because the switch is right there, I'm going to put this so it sticks up just high enough where I can get my finger in there and turn on and off the lights. Just peel and stick. I tried putting some screws in the back of this, but this caused the batteries to stick out too far and the door wouldn't close. So, double stick tape it is. And I can reach in there and grab that switch easily. Now the door will close comfortably. Famous last words. Okay, there we go. And I'm just going to let the wire hide behind this thing here. I would like to have something that would attach the wire to this, but if I do anything like that, well, I might just put a little wire tie right there, but leave it loose so that it can move up and down with that guide wire. And I'm going to put a wire tie, a zip tie, around here, but I'm not going to tighten it down. I'm just going to leave it loose. It'll act like a little collar. So I'm going to just not tighten it down very much. Leave it like that, so that when it comes down and comes up, this wire will follow the guide wire and hopefully not get tangled around anything else. There we go. That looks about right. So this is the solenoid, and it activates the cylinder, and the top one goes up to the top, and that'll be the raising pressure. So if I have it right there and I turn it on, it goes up sort of fast, but if I loosen that up and open that valve up more, significantly faster. So I can dial that in. Now if I want it to return, the lower valve, I'm getting a very fast cycle, but if I want it to come up fast but then retreat slowly, that's how I would adjust it. So these are the control mechanisms for how fast it pops up and how slow it pops up and how fast or slow it goes down. So when I push the button, the prop fires. And he could be hiding behind the fence, and when someone walks by, you can scare them. Like that. Boo!
I'm coming for you. I'm coming for you.
So we're going to build the 2-bar lifter. This post is 24 inches, and it's the vertical post that the entire mechanism will be attached to. This part does not move. These are 3/4 inch square stock that I got from the big box store. I'm not sure what they're made out of. I think they're made out of, I don't think they're pine. I think they're something a little bit harder. They can be metal tubing, but if you use metal tubing, it would make the prop heavier, and there'll be something talking about weight in the future here. This bar is 26 inches. This bar is 20 inches, and this bar is 21.5 inches. Now these do not have to be exactly these dimensions. This is what I have here on the prop, but there's some important relationships that have to be maintained. First of all, you'll notice that on the horizontal bars in the 2-bar lifter, that the holes line up. On the post and the part where the prop is going to be attached to, these holes have to line up. The distance between this hole and that hole is about 7 inches. Same for this. And the distance between these two holes is about 13 inches. So the longer one goes on the bottom, and the top one, or the shorter one, goes on the top. And this will form a parallelogram. Now the way we're going to attach these bars to this is we're going to use 1/4-20 bolts and washers. And I do a stack of washers. And of course, nylock nuts. So I'll attach the bottom one. I'm going to take a stack of washers. I have 3 washers here, 2 fenders in this. This is what I think I just had left in the shop. I have a washer around the front of this. This is about a 3-inch bolt, or sorry, screw. And we're going to push that through there. I'm going to do the other one while I'm at it. The top one also gets the same treatment. Okay, now on the back here, we'll put another fender washer. And we'll use these nylock nuts. So you should have something like this at this point. Now I'm going to put this bar, this vertical bar, on the back side of these arms, because when it comes down, this bar will come to rest on the vertical post. And for that, I'm just going to put a couple of bolts through it and some washers. So you want to make sure that the holes that you drill are going to pass this through without threading. This is pretty tight. So I got a bit that's about a couple sizes bigger, and I'm just going to drill through there. And that'll mean that the bolt will now, or the screw will now pass through there without any problem. So this is the mechanism. When I put the main post and the prop post parallel to each other, you'll see that this will form a rectangle. Again, the dimensions are about 13 inches from end to end and about 7 inches from top to bottom. Okay, if there's a lot of play in there, that means that this needs to be tightened. Your bar should be pretty firm, but still able to move up and down freely. So this is the block of wood that I've used in the past. You want something heavy. In fact, you want something heavier than this. It's a pretty good piece of wood. This is what they use for headers. You might be able to find an offcut of this material. I've added a piece of 2x4 onto the front of it, so the overall front to back dimension is about 14 inches. The width of this block is 9 inches. And the thickness of this piece of wood is 3.5 inches, which is standard 2x4 size. So the other thing that I've done is I've added a block here on the top, and when the arm comes down from the lifter mechanism, it will rest here. When I didn't have that block there, it would tend to go lower. And the other reason why I needed this block here is I needed to put a bracket for the cylinder here. So these were tweaks that I made later. What I'm going to do is I'm going to attach the lifting mechanism to the base, like that. And I'm just going to secure it with a couple of, these are structural screws. They are about 3 inches, number 2. And we're just going to screw them in there. Oh, by the way, I'm going to put that like that. So the vertical post is attached to the base. So this is the 2-bar lifting mechanism. It's called that because there's 2 bars here and they work in parallel. And you can see how nicely that this front bar raises vertically. It goes forward and then back a little bit. So there's a little bit of an arc as it moves. And when it comes down, it rests on this 2x4 platform. So the pneumatic cylinder will be attached to this hole, which is about 7 inches from this pivot point to this point here. And the cylinder will be, and that'll be where the rod is attached to it. And then down on the other side, on the bottom of the base here, will be the foot or the clevis for the bottom of the cylinder. And so the cylinder, when it pulls, it's already in the extended position. And so when it pulls it down, when it retracts, it'll actually lift the mechanism. So in this case, we want the opposite of the graveyard popper. We want to retract the cylinder in order to lift it. So this cylinder is a little bit unusual. When it came, it had 3/8 inch tubing, but I use a 1/4 inch tubing, and they provided these reducers that plug in there just like a tubing would and then give me a reduction. So one of the difficulties in attaching these cylinders is that you just can't mount them directly on there. That's going to be a problem. The mechanism gets in the way. We're going to stand off the cylinder. Then this gives us an adjustment for the cylinder endpoint, the affecting endpoint. And then we can adjust this how high we need it to go. So I'm going to take a 1/4 20 bolt and I'm going to thread it through this clevis. Now I'm going to put some nuts on there to space this out. You can see what the problem is. If the cylinder were to be placed right there, it would run into this platform down here. So this needs to stand out further, like that. So I'm going to just put a whole bunch of nuts in there, and I'm going to allow this thing. Now this thing has to pivot. So again, we're going to use washers on either side of this to allow for this to pivot while also being tight. So it looks like that now. So when I put this through the hole, before I do so, I need to put some washers. So I'll put a few washers in there. And then finish it off with another nylock nut. And you don't want to over tighten it. I think I did. Just back it off about a 1/4 of a turn, and that should be fine. Now let's position the foot of the cylinder. And it's going to go on the back like that. So I'm going to put the bracket I put the flat side here like that, and I'm going to position it like that. I'll put a pin in there, and that'll secure the cylinder. But before I can put the cylinder in there, there's two holes on this bracket that needs to be attached right here. So what I'm going to do to attach this is that I got some double stick tape. And what I'll do is I'll put it on there with the double stick tape, and then it will stay in position once I know where the position is. And then I'll go ahead and drive the screws in there to make it permanent. So I want it like, I'm looking at it. I want to make sure that this is in line with everything. It's got to miss that block right there. That looks good. Test it out. It wants to turn a little bit, but that's fine. Okay, I'll pull the pin out. And now the bracket will stay in place long enough for me to drive in a couple of these screws. We'll put the pin, and since we want to put we have to put the other E-clip, I'm going to make it easy on myself, and I'm going to put it over here so that the E-clip that I'm going to replace is in the front. Okay, now that the pin is in there, we need to slide this E-clip over the ring. And it comes together with a pair of pliers usually. And I'm holding it at an angle. It seems to be easier and to do this. And you need a pair of pliers to... am I getting a good angle on this shot here? I'm trying to give you a good angle and the camera's in the way. There we go. Now that is attached. It's not easy to get them out, and it's not easy to get them in, but once they're there, it's secured. Okay, now we need to connect up the solenoid to these air lines. So when I put my solenoid on this block of wood, I don't want to put it here. I don't want to hang it out. These air lines have to come in on the side. So I'm going to flip it over, and that's where the air lines are going to come in. And I'm just going to put some screws through here and attach them to this base. I don't over tighten them. I don't want to just crush this down there. So now the question is, which tube goes to where? Does the top tube go here or here? And does the bottom tube go here or there? Now I've marked them down here before, but I think for education purposes, I'm going to install them backwards on purpose to show you what happens and how to detect that and how to correct it. Now we need to take and have an input for the air. Again, I'm going to use my quick connect and with the valve on it. And then we have our power input for our solenoid. Okay, I have my 12-volt power supply. I have my prop trigger. I'm going to plug in the power supply to the trigger, and I'm going to plug the other side of the trigger into the solenoid, and we can test it. Okay, now it's ready for air. Okay, let's put some air in it. Now this valve is closed. When I open up the valve, you can see that the prop went into an upright position. And what we want this prop to do is to be in a retracted or down position and not an up position. That means that the hoses are attached backwards. Turn off the air and let's bleed out the extra air in there so that now we can move this down. And we're going to switch the hoses. You do that by pushing the little donut and release the valves, and we're going to just do the switch. Now, when you put air on a prop like this, these things will come down suddenly. I've got very low air pressure on it for testing purposes. When I put the pressure up higher, this could come down pretty violently or come up pretty violently and harm you. So you want to make sure that when you put air on that, or you activate the prop, that you're a safe distance away when you put the pressure on it. Now I have the valve open. The prop is in the descended position or the lowered position. And when I push the button, it stands up. And I release the button, it comes down. So for the prop, I'm going to use one of these masks. And to fill it out, I'm going to use an old gallon of milk, empty of course. And I'm going to screw it to the top of the lifter bar. I'm going to put the handle towards the back. And then I'm going to use a fender washer and a screw. And I'll just put that in there. Okay, and we'll put the mask on there. Now I'm going to do something that might be a little silly, but I think it'll inform really well what's going on with the pneumatic props. Now we have the prop, and we're all good, except for one thing. Let me get back far enough so you can see this. It's kind of hilarious. So if you don't secure the mask or with a prop, this funny thing can happen to you. Whoops. Of course, I knew it was going to do that. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that whatever you attach to the to this device, that you have it secured. I had this happen to me where the head completely flung off about 1 second before I was going to open the haunt, and we had to resecure the prop so that it wouldn't fly off of there. Now I wouldn't use a piece of duct tape or putting this in a haunt because I don't trust duct tape, but this will give you an idea of what happens when you just do a little bit of securing, and this will. Several times I've mentioned the fact that the base needs to be heavy, and there's a good reason for it. I'm going to show you that reason right now. I'm going to activate the prop, and it's going to go up and down a number of times. And what I want you to do is I want you to watch that base. Okay, I've got it parallel to the edge of my workbench right now, and when I do just a few of these cycles, you'll see that this base will want to turn itself. So it's about 45 degrees now, and that's just after a few cycles, and it will walk like that in your haunt. So you need to weight this down. I would recommend putting something heavier on here, like a concrete brick, that would keep it from turning, or building the base out of concrete. The other thing that I would do is dial down the amount of energy that this prop uses to go up and down. So I'm going to put the prop behind the graveyard fence and show you what that looks like. I have the prop hiding behind the fence. Grab the little trigger and He'll pop up. And this, of course, could be replaced by a motion sensor. It can be programmed by an Arduino or by a Peekaboo or some kind of prop controller. Here's a side view of it. Next, we're going to put this Grim Reaper prop on the 2-bar lifter. The prop itself probably weighs, I'm going to guess, 5 to 10 pounds. It's not very heavy. However, we will soon see that this will present a challenge to the cylinder, even though we have 50 or 60 psi of air pressure. Just because the cylinder receives 50 or 60 pounds doesn't mean that it can lift heavy loads. The Grim Reaper prop uses this armature to stand it up. We're going to use only this part of it to attach the head and arms to the lifting bar mechanism. The Grim Reaper prop's head rests on these 2 posts, so I need to attach the tubing with them above the lifting bar. I drilled a hole through it here, and I'm going to attach it to the lifting bar mechanism at the top with a 1/4-20 screw about 3 inches long with a nylock nut on the back. And I'll use a zip tie at the bottom to keep things from moving around. We are now ready to put the Grim Reaper prop onto the lifting mechanism. I'm going to just set it on that tubing for testing purposes, but it really should be better secured to the tubing so it won't come off during actual operation. I have the Grim Reaper attached to the lifter mechanism, and it's all aired up and ready to go. Except it doesn't go. And I expected it wouldn't go. At this point, you might be tempted to crank up the pressure or go to a larger cylinder. But there's a better way of doing this. The solution to the problem is not to increase your air pressure. This just puts more stress on the cylinder and it puts more stress on the prop. There's a better way of doing this. Instead, what we're going to do is we're going to put a counterbalance, a weight, on the back of this to assist the process of lifting the bar up. And for that, I have a pretty heavy weight. I think it's made out of lead. I'm pretty sure it is. I guess this is for fishing, deep sea fishing or something like. If anybody knows what this weight is, what it's called, and where you get it, please put that down in the comment section below. However, this is what I have on hand, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to slip this, I guess they call it a carabiner, and I'm going to use an eye hook and a couple of nuts, and I'm going to put the eye screw through the prop here, and I'm going to then attach the weight to it. So I'm going to hang the weight on the back of it. This weighs about the same as the prop does. So I'll put this nut on there like that. I'm going to put the eye bolt in the facing down position, and I have a nylock nut on the back of it. I'll tighten it with an adjustable wrench so it's tight. This does not have to turn. I got the weight. I'll open it up and thread that through like that. I'll open up the other side and just there it is. So let's connect it up. air, and power. So the air compressor has about 50 psi, about the same amount of pressure that wouldn't lift this prop before. And I have the remote trigger button, so when I press it, it sure rocks around a lot, and the weight rocks around a lot. There could be a better way of attaching the weight and the prop. So I think this proves the point that adding a counterbalance will make this prop work a lot more efficiently. So even though I put 50 pounds of pressure, 50 pounds per square inch, in the cylinder, it doesn't mean that I can have a heavy prop.
You found me. Now I'm going to get you. Eat now while you can, and have a happy Halloween.
This prop is more advanced than previous props because it uses two pneumatic cylinders to animate the movements of a zombie. For this prop, I want it to stand up, extend its arms outward, and then lunge forward. To make the prop stand up, I will use a 2-bar lifter mech like the one in the previous prop tutorial. Even though this one has different dimensions, it operates on the same principle. To make the prop lunge forward to my victims, my guests, I will use another cylinder to push a platform forward using a pair of drawer slides to guide and stabilize the platform that will have the lifter mech mounted on it. For the prop to extend its arms, I will utilize the motion of the 2-bar lifter. The shoulder crossbar rotates roughly 90 degrees. There is a separate set of linkages that follow the lifter's movements. When the lifter raises up, the arms will rotate outwards. And when the lifter lowers, the arms will be down at the side. This is the old zombie prop. I have an old shirt, a wig head, a foam head, the mask, latex. You can see how it's been deteriorating over time. I've installed some 10mm red LEDs for eyes, a pillow for bulking out the chest, just pool noodle covering a piece of bent PVC pipe. I used a heat gun to heat that up. Be very careful. That's very hot when you do that. And I've got some foam-filled zombie hands. There were gloves. I got this stuff off of Amazon. And so my plan is to slide the pool noodle up there, and then I'm going to attach the hands to... For the head, I'm going to take the styrofoam head and I'm just going to put it like that. If you're curious what makes the eyes blink, I forgot that I had one of these DIY blinker modules that I made with a 555 and some circuitry, and it's just all duct tape in there, and that's what makes these eyes randomly blink at times. Put it back together again. So what I did for the LED eyes is that I ran the wire out the back. I put a cable tie here, here in the middle, and here, there. If I were continuing with the same run of wire, I would have... You can see when it's up there, there's no stress at all on that wire. If you have stress over the time, this will eventually break and your prop will stop working. Here's what the zombie looks like with a shirt. If you wanted to, you can take off the first button to expose some more of the corpsed chest features. Yeah, I think that looks pretty good. So here's the prop. I already have one arm attached. I would recommend putting some kind of pool noodle up in here. Maybe cut half of it and just put it there to give it some shoulder padding. But what we have is we have a 1/2 inch piece of PVC pipe that's sticking out here, to which we're going to attach the arm. So these arms are moving on me. They're just rotating. So I'll position the arm where I want it, and then I'll take one of these self-tapping screws, and I'm just going to drive it in there to prevent that from rotating on me. And I'll do the same on the other side. I'm still not happy about the pool noodles showing on this prop, but this gives you an idea. Maybe you have to cut the arms a bit shorter to fit the shirt. Hopefully this gives you an idea on how to make such a prop for your haunt if you so desire. Well, that's going to wrap it up for this video. Feel free to leave me any suggestions or questions in the comment section. And while you're at it, please like and subscribe because it really helps grow the channel and lets me know that you're enjoying this content. Also, be sure to hit that notification bell because you don't want to miss out on the next exciting episode of where we finally get started working on the Scary Pirate. Thanks for watching.